So, Michael, very pleased to have you here. Thank you for
Well,
your generosity for
likewise.
our
Thanks for having me.
for our audience, for our students who don't know Michael Baumgartner. Let me do a quick introduction. Michael is a professor from the Department of Philosophy of University of Bergen, and for me, for instance, he's famous to be the father of CNA method, the guy who unleashed this novelty to the world that we are now uh, in partnership to expand the access to the method. Okay, so Michael, thank you very much. And direct to the point, I would like to hear from you what CNA is in simple terms or directly, if you can summarize for the audience.
Well, so it's a method that analyzes causal complexity. So typically, causes do not act in isolation. In order for a cause to bring about its effect, a lot of other factors need to be present as well, need to be realized in the right way. Otherwise, this particular cause will not do anything to its effect. And CNA is a method that is especially targeting this level of complexity. While standard methods, they will like look at individual causes and try to estimate to what degree does this cause impact on its effect averaged over all different background configurations. CNA is a method that tells you this cause is only operative, only works, only produces its effect if combined with cause 2 and cause 3 and cause 4 and so forth. And then it will also tell you that there are other ways to produce this particular effect, namely with another bundle of causes that need to be properly realized together, or a third bundle. So it tells you about causal complexity rather than about like effect sizes or to what degree do individual causes impact on their effects.
Nice. And we hear a lot of QCA, for example, or logic regression. What are the main differences between these methods with CNA? Why did you develop CNA and do not use it, for instance, for example, QCA in your research?
Well, why I developed this, I guess, initially was simply because I'm coming from philosophy and I didn't know anything about social science or political science when I started with this. So in my PhD thesis, I wrote about a theory of causation. There's lots of theories, but a theory of causation basically tells you what it means for X to cause Y. Under what conditions would we say that X causes Y? And so in my PhD thesis, I developed this theory of causation. And then afterwards, kind of the natural follow-up question was, how do we go about discovering causation in that, as defined by that theory, from data? And I didn't know much about data analysis at the time, and I just started developing this method like in the philosophical armchair, with availing myself to all kinds of idealizing assumptions and basically asking, under ideal circumstances, how could we discover causation as defined by that theory? And I worked on this for like 2 or 3 years before a student of mine at the time, who was actually a sociology student and but took philosophy classes on the side, told me, "Hey, what you're doing here isn't that the same as QCA?" And I didn't know anything about QCA at the time. I had a look at this and yeah, it was a big disappointment at first. I realized, yes, that's exactly what I was after, right? And so I started to look into other methods that do the same or do similar things. And I realized after a while that I sort of had taken a novel approach that others hadn't. And so one big difference between CNA and QCA is that CNA can analyze structures with multiple effects. So you have a bundle or a number of bundles that cause a first effect, and then this effect again combined with other factors cause a second effect, and then a third effect, and so forth. So you can have these kind of chain-like structures. And with CNA or also with logic regression, you cannot analyze, multi-outcome
Fine. And
structures.
and and when we look at QCA and CNA, you see them like reinforcing each other or competing each other. How can we put these two methods together?
That's a difficult question. So the
Sorry for the tricky, not previous set question.
that's fine. That's fine. So what CNA does is it really sort of the main target is like difference making. So it looks for models that do not contain any kind of redundancies. And if every element of a model makes a difference to the effect, so if that element wouldn't be in the model wouldn't predict as well or wouldn't explain as well, then you can say that every element of this model is actually a cause. And QCA is not so strict about redundancy freeness. So in QCA models, you will often find elements that are not really difference makers, that are just there because of the way the algorithm works. They're good for prediction, they help predicting the outcome, but they do not really help explain why the outcome occurs.
Fine.
So
And
I would say that CNA is more focusing on causation, on actually on finding difference makers for the outcome, whereas QCA is more like in the business of predicting the outcome, finding different bundles of factors that predict the outcome rather than explain the outcome.
fine. And when we thought about CNA, the engine behind CNA, we have from raw data to causal models. What is the mechanism that occurs between this process? What CNA really do to part from data to causal models?
So what it searches is redundancy-free, sufficient and necessary conditions for an outcome. So a condition is sufficient for the outcome if and only if, whenever that condition is given, the outcome is given as well. And a condition is necessary for the outcome if and only if, whenever the outcome is given, the condition is given as well. And so CNA parses the data and tries to first find individual factors that are sufficient for the outcome. And if it doesn't find that, then it looks at combinations of two, factor one and factor two. Is that sufficient for the outcome? If that doesn't work, factor one, factor two, and factor three, and so forth. It increases complexity as it goes through the data to find sufficient and necessary conditions. And once it has that, then sort of the idea is that because we start from sort of the simplest possible model and only increase complexity as we go along, then if we find something, we haven't included anything redundant along the way, and therefore we have redundancy freeness and difference making at the end of the process, and so we can causally interpret these models. That's the idea.
Nice. And for new beginners, people who want to start CNA, what would you recommend? What are the first steps for those who want to start in the method?
Oh, I would say you should take a course. I mean, you guys are developing an online course now. That's certainly something to be recommended. Or we do in-person trainings every year. Jonathan Freitas, I think, has teaching at the university at his university, Minas Gerais, right? There have been
Yeah.
some courses like at the University of Washington in Seattle, but it's not a method that has like entered the standard method curricula of most universities yet, but hopefully that's just a matter of time. Unfortunately, there's no textbook yet. I mean, I've had a standing contract with Cambridge University Press for like a couple of years now to write a textbook, but we kept postponing because the method has evolved so quickly that if I had written it all down in a textbook, it would have been outdated like by the time this would come out in print. And so yeah, but that will hopefully exist soon as well.
And as the method is evolving so fast, what are the news that are coming in sequence? What do you expect from the sequence of the method?
So right now, so what we've done in the past couple of years is increase the algorithmic efficiency and the power of the method, the reliability, sort of with standard, good old-fashioned algorithmic tools. But we realized that we sort of have hit a ceiling. We cannot increase the efficiency more than right now. It's about data cannot have more than, let's say, about 25 factors at the moment. But it turns out that modern data, of course, has often much higher dimensionality than that. And so what will happen in the near future, that's pretty certainly, is that we will start integrating these new AI techniques into the method, techniques that are, custom built for handling high dimensional noisy data, recognizing patterns in high dimensional data, so that we can start applying the method to more and more fields where the data dimensionality is just such that you have more than 25 factors in the data set. I think that's the most
Really
the
nice.
most important innovation that's to be expected in the near future.
Really nice. And talking about our 20 and 25 and beyond, what we should expect, what people should care about CNA in this moment and in the future, if you can summarize in one sentence. Why should we care about CNA?
Why should we care about CNA? Well, if you look at all these great advancements that we've seen in AI in the last 2 years or so, most of these tools are geared towards predicting. They will tell you such and such will happen under these conditions. And CNA is a method that will not just tell you what will happen, but why and how. So it's not geared toward just predicting things, but to explaining things. And that's exactly what's lacking in a lot of these, AI tools. They are very good at predicting things, but when you ask them why, they I don't know, right? Just
So
I,
CNA, for example, can I will not use the word replace, but complement AI tools, for example, in terms of AI cannot trace, cannot give cannot give us traceability, and CNA can do that in a very granularity model.
that would be great. I mean, that's one of the big problems in AI, that these systems are black box entities. You don't know why they do what they do. And of course, the hope. I hope. I don't know whether it's realistic, but it would be great if CNA could help us shed some light into the black box. I think the conditions are promising, but to realize that it's going to be more of a long-term
So
project.
let's invite the whole community, the whole
Right.
AI community to open the black box, and
Right.
we have CNA as a tool to help them in this sense. So AI community, you are now invited to collaborate, and CNA can help us in this sense, okay?
Right. I mean, another area in which I think CNA might be very valuable in the not too distant future is when it comes to individualized medicine. That's something you hear a lot. Let's say you have some medication and you want to know whether it's effective against some disease. And what standard methods will tell you is, well, in the population as a whole, if you take this medication, probability that you are cured from the disease is such and such, 80% or so. But of course, whether a medication is effective or not depends a lot on the other conditions apart from the disease that you have. What's your genetic predisposition? What's your lifestyle? What's your gender? Depending on, you know, all of these factors, a medication may be effective or it may not. And maybe we need to, you know, have individualized medication for, you know, individual people that take the whole complexity of an individual into account, and only based on that you prescribe or do not prescribe some medication. And CNA, I think, is predisposed to help with that, to like, yeah, to individualize cure, I guess.
Really
And
nice, really,
yeah.
really nice. And in other areas, in other research areas, what you do you see like topic promises fields, for example?
Well, if we manage to upscale the applicability, so to beyond 25 factors, then I guess genetics would be sort of the next big area that where we cannot process this kind of data at the moment. But this is a typical area where you see complex interactions between different genes. So if you have gene 1 and gene 2 and gene 75 or 115, then you will get some phenotype. Or if you have gene 17 and gene 27 and so forth, then as well. But if a particular gene happens in combination with other genes, then it might be that this gene produces some very different phenotype or is absolutely ineffective, completely ineffective. So if we could upscale CNA to higher dimensional data, I'm hopeful that genetic data will be something we will be able to process in the not too distant future.
Very good, Michael. I'm really pleased to have you here. We want to say that we have a lot of expectations about CNA for the future here in Techni, and the bundle is an instrument in the sense. So I invite all the audience to meet the bundle for free, to test the platform, to test Shiny app, and try a little bit what about we talked in this conversation. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you
Thanks for having me.
for the impact that CNA already caused and will cause to our research and practical community. So thank you very much for your contribution, and we are so excited to next steps here.
Well, so am I. Thank you for contributing to the dissemination of this method. That's something that's really lacking at the moment. We had these like once a year trainings in Europe and in the US, but of course that's
And
way not
maybe in
enough.
Brazil, and maybe in
Yeah,
Brazil.
maybe in Brazil. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Michael.
All right.